Anyway, here I am in Ganeshpuri. The villagers have just seen this horrible monster of a man. In the day I'm very nice, and in the night I'm a monster. Drunk. Extraordinarily, violently, vilely drunk. And I'm not going to go on and on and on, but I basically collapsed on my bed again, on the verge of incontinence, and sobbed and said, "God help me!" And yeah, I'm using dramas. I wanted to die. I was fucking sick of wrestling with it. And that week, 4 angels visited me. 2 young boys saw me in the day, lying around, sweating and struggling for my breath. And they just said, "Look, Robin, we love you, but you're a wanker when you're drunk." And I said, "Thank you." And then 2 ladies the next day said pretty much the same thing, but in a different way, in a girl way. You know, one lady said, "I'm a teacher. I understand. Why? You're a gifted man. You can act. You can talk well, and yet you drink and you become a foul-mouthed monster." And the other lady said, "What is your problem? My daughter committed suicide last year. I'm not drinking." And this made direct connection to me about the excuses we have for drinking. Pathetic, really. And every single one of you that's an alcoholic will know exactly what I'm talking about. Ad infinitum. So they all knew what I was trying to wrestle with, and they don't even really know me. And then I could hear this chanting coming from near the mandir. You'll see clips of where I'm talking about. And the sound was just like mermaids calling me, "Come on over here." And there were chairs and security guards, and it was in a compound, and there's a fire pit. And the Brahmins are sitting there and throwing ghee and flour and fruit into this fire pit. And these chants are overlapping and just mesmerizing. I swear to God, I don't know what happened, but suddenly my head started to vibrate, and it was as if somebody was pulling my head around, away from the music. And I fought with it and pulled it back to the music and thought, "Oh, what was that? Ugh." And it happened a second time. Now, by now, the security guard is watching this strange foreigner behaving weirdly. And the Brahmins made eye contact with me, and as he's chanting, like he was firing some energy from his higher self into me, like he knew what was happening to me. And the third time, and now I'm feeling like I'm not in control of my body. Somebody else is lifting it around like a puppet. And I'm observing this, and I'm experiencing at the same time this vibrating throughout my body, and this desire, I must get away from this music. I must get away. And I went into another part and blacked out. This is where I backed away from the sound into this area. Don't ask me why. It's a safe area. Why didn't I go the other way? I don't know. And I was brought to this place. I sat exhausted and blacked out. Now, I didn't black out and hurt myself. It was as if somebody laid me out. I was out for 5 minutes, totally unconscious. I came round, and an American Swami was stood over me, and he said, "Are you all right?" I said, "I think so. I just feel really strange." So I went home, I slept, I ate, and I slept for about 2 days. And after 2 days I realised I hadn't got this empty cavern which I used to need to fill with liquor. Rum, whiskey, vodka, Jack Daniels, the lot. I didn't have it.
A cave, an emptiness of what?
Must have been an emptiness of spirit. Must have been, because I've been looking for it for decades before. Decades. Through the bottom of the glass. And it's a year since I drank any liquor.
So after that sleep in 2 days, you had no interest in liquor anymore?
In liquor, hard liquor.
It just...
I have even drunk light beer. I drink light beer. But it doesn't consume me. Before, it was a case of beer and then half a litre of rum afterwards, just for a nightcap. And maybe just keep a little bit for the morning, for the rattles. I've analysed it and thought about it and discussed it with many people since, and we've come up with all sorts of theories. It was as if Bhagawan Nityananda grabbed me by the head and extracted it, whatever it was, like a wisdom tooth. And it sounds pat in my delivery of it now. I know it sounds pat. But I've tested it since. Even shortly after this, a friend of mine who was in the throes of the most raging part of his alcoholism sat in front of me and was drinking, and I just drank water. And he slowed his drinking down. He said, I'm drinking less. It's because of you, Robin. I said, no. It's not me. It's Bhagawan Nityananda. Whenever I got money before, the desperate concern was to make sure the bottle bar is open. I'll get a rickshaw, but first I'll get some beer in the bag. It was the be-all and end-all of my existence.
And then just like that, it's gone.
Yeah.
And you attribute it to Bhagawan Nityananda.
It can only be that. It was a physical exchange between me and God.
Can you feel him in your presence now?
Yeah. What happened is I've lived a very sensuous life, as in of the senses, food, touch, a very physical, palpable existence. And I studied Buddhism and practiced Buddhism and Christianity and all kinds of different religions and philosophies, and tried to understand it here. But this was palpable. This was as if somebody physically shook me about. Since then there have been wonderful illustrations of how wonderful incidences of confirmation, if you like, in very simple ways.
Can you give an example?
One time I woke up in the morning and I took to talking to Baba as if he was my best mate. And I said, Baba, I feel like shit this morning. I feel useless. I've got no work. I've got no money. I don't know what to do about my situation. I feel useless and worthless. What shall I do? And a voice came inside me and said, go and take a hot bath and come to the mandir. Now, since reading about Baba, I've discovered that was one of the things he used to say, but I didn't know that at the time. So it was just his voice saying, take a bath and come to the mandir. So I sat at the back where I normally sit, and I sit there because I'm distractive for some people. And a voice said, sit at the front. I've never sat at the front, but I'll go and sit at the front. And then next to me on my left side, a little tiny fairy of a child, dressed in a little fairy dress, actually. And I'm squatting, sitting, and she's no higher than my shoulder. She's run to the front, just to my left, in front of me, and she's holding the rail and looking. Wow, look at all this silverware and orange curtains. Then some fellows come out in orange clothes with a silver stick, and she's, you can see from behind that she's like, wow, what is this? Gosh. And suddenly behind me the bells and the rumbling of the drums begins. We all know it, But this child is suddenly going, ah! There's a scream of horror, and turned around and looked at me and ran towards me, and I grabbed her. Gave it to the grandfather, and after 2 minutes I looked around, and this same horrified child was sitting with their grandfather enjoying Jaya Jaya Arati Nityananda. So quite happy. And then a voice inside me basically said, you see, you can be useful, you old fool.